Implementing Azure function, let me walk you through. That is, how do you create an Azure function? What is that and how it works? Let me show you quickly. So to create an Azure function, let me go to create a resource menu. So Azure functions comes under compute category, and this is the one, function app. Create a resource, compute, and function app I'll get into. So now here we go. You need to go to create a resource to create an Azure function. Create a resource, compute, and then function app I selected, where the serverless function I'm showing you now. How do you create that? Say resource group, I'll create a new one, and subscription is same one. So I'll name the resource group as function underscore RG, function resource group. And function app name, it should be a DNS and it should be unique in the entire Azure. Suppose I say demo function. If the name is available, you'll get a tick mark, else you get something like this. So I'll give it like this, Kishore function and some number which should be unique. And yes, this is unique. Now publish method, I'm going to publish it as a code. Like if your developer is going to write the function as code, you go for code. If the developer is going to develop this as container application, we go for second choice. For now, we will go with code as we are not dealing with containers. Now runtime stack, you can choose between these .NET, Node.js, Python, which means Azure is installing these stack for you and you just focus on developing the function. So I'll go with .NET, stating that I will have .NET based application running. Now version could be 3.1 and whatever the other settings we have, we'll leave it. We'll click on review plus create with the default settings. And what it is doing now, this is creating a function app for us. And what a function app is, we discussed that it's a serverless service where Azure manages your CPU core and RAM scaling. So I'll click create, which will create that function app. So after this is created, let me show you where how do you deploy a function into it and how that function can be accessed on demand. I'll wait for the deployment to get completed. Okay, now my deployment is complete, so I'll click on this go to resource button, which takes me into my function. See, same like web app, you had these settings. A function app also has the same kind of things. Suppose I click browse, I can see a sample website there, which means almost everything looks same. But never use a function app to host a website. You should use it only for hosting a function, because that's how it is designed. Say in the left side, I can see we have a menu called functions. So this is where you can find the functions, whether a developer develops and publishes it, or if you want to create one in the platform of Azure, you can come here and do it. If suppose you use the add button here to add a function, you can click this. And you cannot start from scratch, which means you have templates. So you can see here, like if you were developing a function from the portal, this is how it looks like. Like you see, they are giving you templates. HTTP trigger, which gives a template where whenever you make a request to it, a HTTP request, it will start the function. Time trigger, on a particular time the function will work. Queue storage, so whenever a message comes to Azure queue, the function will work. This way, for different scenarios, different templates. See, IoT hub, a function that will run whenever IoT hub will receive a message. So that's an example. So this way, triggers are readily available, which you can take it, modify it and use it. Let's say I'll pick this one, HTTP trigger, which means I'm saying that I will deploy a HTTP trigger based function and will click the add button, which means a function that's based on HTTP trigger is added in here. So here it is, HTTP trigger. Now note this, if a developer or even you want to go and modify the function, in the left side you can see code plus test option we have. We can go here where you can modify the template that is given. You can write it or change it according to your requirement, which you preferably want to. See, this is a simple example where I'll not explain in depth with the code, but in a top level, It's again a piece of code based on MVC, again based on .NET Core it is written, where there is an asynchronous task which is run, to which a HTTP request and then a particular iLogger class is also used, to which a parameter named log is passed. So whenever a function starts, it will say the following log information in the log, and then there is a string called name where it is expecting a query from the user whenever they make a HTTP request to this function. So the parameter name is name. So in simple words, it will convert whatever the user request you make into a textual data. And you can see line 18 that plays a role where if the response message, which is like whatever the request user makes, if it is blank request without a parameter or what it will check here. If it is null, that is if the incoming request to the function is not having any parameter called name, then it will display line 19 like this: HTTP trigger function executed successfully. Pass a name in the query string or in the request body of the personality or whatever the thing, whatever the value you have in here. So this one it will come for you. Just in case, okay, personalized response it will say. Just in case you make a request where you use a parameter called, let's say, name. If you include a parameter called name in your incoming request to the function, then it will show the output line number 20, which is like hello. If I give the name as Kishore, then hello Kishore. This is HTTP triggered function executed successfully for you. So that's how the request will work. And then return new OK object result is the output that you which is taken, which means for this response message, whatever the response you get is what you see as an output. Now let's verify this and see how it works. So let's see, I'll go to overview in the left side and top. So you have an option here, get function URL. I'll click this. When you click this, you get a URL here. I'll copy this URL, which is the URL of Azure function. In a tab, I'll paste it. So you can see the URL. It's your function app dot azure websites.net /API / your function name. HTTP trigger 1 is your function name. Question mark code is the authentication code for your function, a token that is given. At the end of it, let me include something like this. Let's say in the end I'll include an ampersand because there is a parameter already given. So I'll include an ampersand, pass a parameter as name equal to, let's say, Azure. The moment I make a request, the code gets executed on demand. So it says, hello Azure, this HTTP trigger function executed successfully. If suppose I make a request, I don't use this parameter like name equal to Azure, just I make a request to this. See, this HTTP trigger function executed successfully. Pass a name in the query string or in the request body for a personalized response. To make it clear, now one user or 1 million users make a request. Parallelly, this will work, and required amount of RAM and CPU core it will allocate to make your function work, and that's what an Azure function is. So you pay only for what you do. At the same time, this gives you the best performance you look for. Do you understand this now? Any questions on Azure function from anyone? Next demo we are going to take a look at, that's how do you create a VM using an ARM template.